Jim, welcome back. How was the trip?
Long.
I bet. Well, let's talk about, first of all, the motivation behind it. I know that you have a coworker there who's going through some health issues. Talk about your motivation and how the whole thing came together.
Well, Chris Trish, he's a really good programmer, .net, which is the framework behind most of the websites on the internet now. He did our photo gallery, a photo database, and he's working on a complete new website for us. And he was about 95% done in January when he discovered that he had leukemia. And he had just changed jobs, and his wife had just changed jobs, and there was questions about insurance and everything else. Well, which should be the least of your worries when you're trying to recover from trying to recover from leukemia, and
right.
Especially aggressive version of it. Well, he had his bone marrow transplant. He's been going through treatments at Ohio State, and he had his bone marrow transplant this past week. And it's especially bone marrow transplants for cancer patients is a very difficult thing to go through for the recipient.
Right.
So he hasn't worked since January. His wife's missed a lot of work, and a complication of that was they had to move out of their house because their house had some sort of a fungus, and this is a brand new house. Yeah. And it had a type of fungus that a person without an immune system would die from it within days. So they're living they've got a nice house down in Grove City, and they're living in an apartment in Columbus here, up near closer to downtown. So they're paying for that too, and they've just had some. They're getting into financial difficulties. Yeah. With everything involved. So I thought, what could I do? Because I don't have one. I mean, I can't, give them too much myself personally, but I do have a car, and I do like to drive. I'm one of the few people that I actually like long road trips.
I do know you like to drive. I know enough about you to know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put those two things together, and did a little calculations. I went on a website that will calculate for you. You put in multiple points, and it'll calculate the shortest distance and the easiest driving. And I did a little thinking and figured that I could do that in 3 days. And that was to go to every Big Ten school, including Maryland and Rutgers. And then the last minute I threw in Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Big Ten championship game is, right. In Indianapolis, because it was kind of on my way. And so that made a total of 15 sites, and I figured I could do that in 3 days. And I thought, well, if I did that, I could use that as a little bit of a fundraiser for Christmas family.
Well, and I have followed you along the way, either on the ozone.net or on Facebook, and it wasn't easy. I mean, you got to get all the way out to Nebraska, find a way to get up to Minnesota, and then get all the way east. That had to, even though you like to drive, Jim, that had to be a little bit taxing.
Yeah, it was, and it was complicated. I had it all figured out, and I thought I was going to be able to get to each stadium during daylight hours. But day one went pretty smoothly. On day one, I started at Indianapolis. So on Wednesday evening, I drove over and stayed at a hotel in Indianapolis and started at Memorial Stadium down there at just after daybreak, and went from there to Lucas Oil, and then up to Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, and then out to Nebraska. And that went very, very well. I got to Nebraska more than an hour before sunset.
Wow, that's aggressive right there.
That was persistence.
Were you, at any point did you exceed the speed limit, Jim?
Yes. Well, actually, I did the speed limit when I left the stadium, and then when I was slowing down to the next stadium.
As you went along, I'm sure that you, because you're a professional, you're not just going to, roll the window down and take a snapshot.
Right.
You had to kind of set things up so you'd get a nice shot of each stadium, right? So you took a little time when you got to each location.
Probably 15, 20 minutes at each location. Now, the pictures that are on Facebook, on my Twitter account, those are all just my cell phone pictures. I took them carefully, but they're still cell phone pictures.
Right.
But I also took the camera and a tripod, and I tried to get a good picture of the stadium as I could do quickly. I didn't have all my equipment, but I set something up, and I got what I could. And I also took a picture of myself with camera and tripod at each location. So that's going to be something I'll have online.
Nice. That's good.
I tried taking a good picture of every stadium, and the one that I failed on to get a good picture of was Camp Randall Stadium. There is just not an angle at that stadium that you can get a good picture.
Yeah, having been there, and especially with the way they built things up around it now, you're right. Yeah. There's no way to get any perspective of it.
No. So I got a picture of a corner, and that's about it.
Well, but you were there. All right. Other than, obviously, we know which one we all think is the best one. What was your favorite one to photograph? And maybe given the lighting conditions and everything else, I know you ran into some weather up there in my home state of Minnesota, so that had to make it a challenge, too. That
screwed things up for me because I got a late start on Friday because of that, and about maybe 45 minutes. But that threw off my schedule the rest of the day because it really screwed me up out of Chicago. I needed to get in and out of Chicago before rush hour traffic started.
Sure.
And that didn't happen. It took me from Northwestern until I got out of Chicago. Normally it's about a 50-minute, maybe an hour if you got a little bit of traffic. It took me 2 hours and 40 minutes out of Chicago. Yeah, so that made shooting every stadium during daylight hours impossible. I just got to Michigan State before dark, and the first stadium I shot at night was a Michigan Stadium. But as I told everybody, you really how much do you really want to see Michigan State?
You don't really want to see that one anyway. So as you headed east and you got into Rutgers and Maryland, at that point were you cursing the expansion of the Big Ten?
That's a long way over. Yeah, I mean, you get to Penn. I thought Penn State was, a long way to the east, and Rutgers is another almost maybe 4 hours past Penn State, and then leaving Rutgers. I think going in and out of Rutgers and Maryland for us is not going to be a big problem as far as traffic because you just go in and you go out.
Right.
The problem happened when I had to go between the two.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Then we chatted actually at that point. You were on I-95 at that point. You weren't moving very quickly.
I wasn't moving. It took me to go the first 5 miles. It took 40 minutes. But after that, I'd say after about 8 miles out of Rutgers, going south on 95 on their turnpike. After that, it really opened up, and for the rest of the way to Maryland, I just to keep up with traffic, I was doing 80, 85.
Right. Yeah. Then you're into that Type A personality over there. So
they were when it was opened up, they really screamed.
And you rolled back in here last night. The Ohio Stadium was your last stadium that you photographed. At what time?
About 12:45.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, I made up some time. I used to navigate through the trip. I used Google Navigator on my phone, and that's really hard to beat. Say if they say it's going to be a 6-hour drive from point A to point B. They don't just take the speed limit. They take how fast people are actually driving. Because it's a two-way thing. You're telling them where you're at and how fast you're going.
Sure.
While you're traveling, and since there's millions of people doing it, they give you a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's hard to beat that time. Say it would take 6 hours, it's probably going to take you 6 hours solid driving. But between Maryland and Ohio Stadium, I knocked off 45 minutes from Google's estimate.
Well done. Well, congratulations on completing the circuit. Tell people, if you would, where they can go if they want to donate to this, to Trish's medical fund. I know it's established. I know it's easy to do. You can just go on your site, but tell folks how to do it.
Well, we have any donate button on the Ozone, no matter where you find it, is going to be a donation for Chris until June 30th. So every cent you donate to the Ozone will go, 100% of it, possibly minus PayPal fees. We might have to take 3% off, something like that. But all of that is going to Chris Trish. There's an account at Huntington Bank under the name of Chris, that's C-R-I-S, Trish, T-R-E-I-S-C-H. And if you can go to any Huntington Bank branch and donate there as well.
Well, that's awesome. And again, congratulations on the circuit. You're probably the first from Buckeye Country to hit all of them. And go get some rest.
I'm definitely the first one to do it in 3 days.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, hey, Jim, thanks for carving out a little time today. I'm sure you're tired, but again, noble effort, my friend. Well done.
Thanks for calling me.
All right, we'll talk to you later on. That is Jim Davidson from the Ozone.net. All Big Ten stadiums, all of them, in 3 days. Oh, and he threw in Lucas Oil Stadium, too, because, as he said, it was on the way. Well done and noble effort. And again, if you want to donate to Chris Trish's fund, just go to the ozone.net. It's pretty simple to do. Just follow the directions there.